Hey, hope everybody is doing all right. Okay, this week we've got a lab and then you've got an exam at the end of the week. So let's talk about both of those real quick. We had our lab exam last week, so those are graded. If you haven't checked that yet, those are on Blackboard. We can talk a little bit about that when we have lab on Monday and Wednesday, whichever group you're in. The lab is on mitosis, so we've kind of reached the point in the semester where we're sort of running out of time. Remember, all of our in-class or in-person classes have to be done before Thanksgiving, and that's coming up pretty soon. So from here on out, every lab that we do is actually going to be on something that we haven't covered in lecture yet. I know that makes it kind of tricky. So mitosis is what we're doing in lab this week, and that is chapter 9. That's what we're going to cover in lecture next week. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction just so the lab will make sense. We'll do that at the beginning of class. And then honestly, the main thing we're doing in this lab is looking at images in the microscope, and then you're going to draw cells and you're going to label different parts. So I'll have some images like on the screen that you can use sort of as a guide. I know, like I said, we haven't covered this yet in lecture, so it's kind of different. So I'll kind of walk you through this lab. All right. The other big thing I want to do when we're in class on Monday and Wednesday for our labs is your exam is at the end of the week. In my traditional classes, I always hand out this worksheet, and it's got just kind of basically a review of some of the stuff we talked about in the photosynthesis chapter and in the cellular respiration chapter. So like what we would do is in lecture, we would finish up those chapters. I would pass the worksheet out, and then we would fill it out together. And it's just like it's not a study guide, but it's just an outline for you to kind of go through all of the different facts and all of the different steps and what happens in each of those steps. So we should have plenty of time to do that in person. I'll pass that out at the beginning of class. We'll go through that. And then what I want you to do between now and whenever your lab day is, I want you to look over and see if you have any questions, like anything that you can possibly think of from chapters 6, 7, and 8 that you have questions about. Write them down, make a list, and we should have enough time to do like a little mini review before we get into the lab, because that shouldn't take too long this week. All right? Okay, so that is what we're doing in person. Thursday and Friday is exam 3. So that's on chapters 6, 7, and 8. Now, I mentioned earlier, and if you've watched them, you know that those were shorter chapters, so that's the good news. But there's a lot of information that's packed in there too. So, number one, if you haven't watched those lecture videos, you've got to do that. I do not think this is something you can do well on just by reading the PowerPoints. Watch those videos. But after you do that, like I said earlier, make a list of any questions you have. Ask me in lab. You can send me messages in Blackboard. Just make sure you're really prepared for this, because it's a small amount of information, but it's really dense. So if you'll put the work in and study, I think you can do really well on this test. All right? So it's Thursday and Friday. This one, just like last one, 65 minutes for 65 questions. No one is taking anywhere near that time, so I wouldn't even worry about the time limit. Most of you are getting done in 20 minutes or less, I would say, is average. All right? So just set aside some time to take that to take that test next week. Or, you know what I'm saying. I'm recording this the previous week, so on Thursday and Friday, October 22nd and 23rd, make sure you do that. All right? That's it. Y'all see, this is going to go up. This video should be posted on Saturday. So if you're feeling miserable about this class and how things are going, let me make you feel better. I've mentioned that I run a lot and I'm glutton for punishment or whatever. So this weekend, the 17th and then the 18th, I'm doing a 24-hour race. So it starts 9 a.m. on Saturday. And then it's a 1-mile loop in this city park in Alabaster. And for 24 hours till 9 a.m. on Saturday, till 9 a.m. on Sunday, you just do as many loops as you can. So having said that, especially for my group A that meets on Monday, if I walk in on Monday and I look like I'm dead or miserable, or like if you have a substitute, that means that I died somewhere during the weekend during this race. But anyway, we'll get through it. I'll tell you horror stories if you want to know. And I'll see you next week. Be studying for exam 3.